Hello and welcome to the next tutorial in the series. Today we're going to look at zones and we're going to look at entities, specifically collectible entities and zones that will check whether those entities have been collected. The objective of this very simple game will be these scientists want something from that cave, and the simple quest is to come down, speak to the scientist, then go to the cave, collect the item, and bring it back to the scientist. The satyr in the forest, we may include him in this story if we can, but this is just trying to keep it very simple, just a simple fetch quest. And to do that, we're going to look at zones. I'm going to look at collectible entities. Now, if you go to your markers tab and scroll down, you will see we have some zones. With the wind zone, trigger zone, sound zone, story zone, floor zone, image zone, text zone, ambience zone, heal zone and hurt zone. Now these are what we're going to be looking at today, these zones. Not all of them. We're going to be looking specifically at trigger zone, sound zone and wind zone. A zone is basically an entity or an object that you can bring onto your scene that's represented by a pentagon, a 5-sided polygon. Now these can be clicked and moved, and they will, where possible, contour to the floor, so you can get your zone marker over a larger or a smaller area. Now if you left click on a zone, you get a very limited set of options, and the one we're interested in right now is properties. The other things we've covered in previous videos. Inside properties, we have the name of the zone, we have the script the zone uses, and we have media associated with the zone. By default, you have the audio bank miscellaneous sound trigger.wav, which is a basic sound effect which plays once the objective of the zone has been met, in this case wind zone. If you delete that for now and come to trigger zone, this is probably the most common zone because many things can be triggered to many different effects. In properties, it's pretty much the same, except its check is for a player in the zone, which basically checks if the player has entered this particular zone. If we apply those changes, even though there was no changes, and play the test game, we will enter the zone, which is roughly placed in front of the bunker, and it will play a sound. And it will play a sound once and never play that sound again. The reason being, the script attached to it tells it to do that. And we're going to look at the script in a minute. After we've seen the zone in action, we can go through the LUA and see how it does what it does. So, if we come through our deep, dark, spooky, acid green forest, now listen quite carefully. That noise was the sound trigger played by the zone. Now we can come out of the area of the zone and come back into it, and it will not play again. The reason for that is the script, which we'll show you now. So if we exit the test game, now just deleting that now, if each zone up on your left hand column performs a particular function. The sound zone, as you might expect, plays a sound. The text zone puts text on the screen. The ambience zone will play a background music or background ambience, in this case like forest noise. So actually, if we go to our real start location, place an ambient zone here, and place our start marker on top of the ambient zone, what will happen is the player will spawn into the world. It will realize that the player is in the ambient zone trigger and start playing whatever background music we've selected. So if we go into the properties of this, that is the player start position. If we move that and go into properties of this, the current sound is the escape/battle.ogg. So let's go in to the audio bank, music, classics, medieval, beautiful place. Oh, the glade. That sounds foresty. Now you could go into the folder, the GameGuru audiobank folder, and listen to these with whatever media player you have on your computer. You can click this up here to get the absolute file path, copy and paste that into Windows Explorer, and go straight here. But I'm going to just take a stab in the dark. I'm going to pick the glade, open, and then apply those changes. I'm going to put me back here, and then I'm going to go over here. I'm going to get a text zone, and I'm going to place it here at the start of the winding path. Bearing in mind the zones don't have a widget, so if a widget appears, you've probably clicked something behind it, so be careful about that. You go into properties, and in the text zone you see a text string down here, hello world, and we'll say welcome to the glade, exclamation mark. Notice the script markers /text in zone.lua. We're going to go into those shortly, but for now we're just going to see the functionality of a few zones. So apply those changes, and we get a sound zone. We'll leave that there. I get a new sound zone. So as you come down the path, we'll have a sound zone near the end of the path. We'll make this one quite big because I want the player to trigger it. Now if the player just jumps off the side of the mountain, obviously they'll never get to the sound zone. It's up to the designer to design their levels in such a way that if they want the player to proceed in a certain direction, they must design the level to guide that player in that certain direction. This is quite free roaming. You could leap off this into the pool and never even get to the text zone, but ideally we want the player to come this way. So if I wanted to force them that way, I may have put impenetrable barriers around here, or started down there, so the only way out is this way. But we will walk down here like we're supposed to do, so we can trigger all these zones. In this one, I don't want the sound trigger. I want fantasy. Oh, that's a folder. Yeah, Audio Bank. I want fantasy. Fantasy Atmos, Evil Priest, Critters. Okay, we'll play some Critters. Okay, apply those changes. Now, I'm going to test a game. Initially, we should get some ambient music. As we walk down the slope, text will appear welcoming us to the glade, and as we come to the bottom of the slope, we should hear Critters. Okay, and then test game. Physics. Load strafe. Flashlight. Oh. Wow. This is quite fitting. So I'll walk down the slope a bit. Oh, welcome to the glade. So already I'm building a small scene, I'm building a narrative. So I carry on down the slope. Well, that's terrifying. The scene's changed slightly. That's like a monster more than a critter. But you see how zones can be placed and put in the path of the player to trigger events, set the scene, and things of that nature. Now, if I walk down here again, it shouldn't do that growl, because the script will have deleted itself. The trigger zone will be gone. The text is still there, because it's not been told to destroy itself. And I get here and begin dialogue with the scientist. So we'll exit the game there. Quite loud music. And now let's just look at some of these scripts. I will save under a new iteration. Um, 9.1, because I'm going to dig into these a little bit and I don't want to lose any progress by accidentally deleting something I'm not supposed to delete. Plus, it's a good practice to save in several iterations, because you never know when the power's going to go or you drop your computer somehow. Okay, we'll start with the ambience. I'll just move this because I know what that is. In properties, the script for this one is called Ambience in zone.lua in the markers folder. So we navigate to the script bank using the grey dotted button. These are all the scripts that are included with GameGuru. There's lots of them which do lots of different things. Some are specific to certain instances. For example, the escape file music, the escape final assault music, that is the escape demo level, which has been created in GameGuru, and these triggered at a certain point specific to that game. Teleporter, switch main, story and zone, sprite, test, spin loop, proxy mine. I believe that's part of a sci-fi pack add-on, so you may not see that in your installation. But you can choose any of these to use. For us, our script is in markers. So we go to the top, go into markers, and it's ambience in zone. If we right click, we can open this. Now, LUA files, these files are simple text-based files and can be opened and edited in Notepad. However, I would recommend Notepad++. It's a free text-based editor with a special feature where you can select a language and it will format that language into the commands and the context of the language itself. In this case, LUA, the commands are highlighted in blue, the content is a different style, and it formats itself that it's more readable to you as a scripter, a programmer. And LUA is a scripting language, and it is used in GameGuru to control everything of this nature. It's quite powerful. You can do a lot with it. For example, some of the character scripts are very long, but this is a simple script. It's very short, and we're going to start with this one. Now, there's a few things that must be known about GameGuru's LUA scripts. The first one, and perhaps the most important one, is that all scripts must have an init and a main. Okay, I'll unpack those because it's hard to see the underscore with those on. But this script is called ambience in zone.lua. We have a function called ambience in zone underscore init and a function called ambience in zone underscore main. You can ignore the E for now. That is what the engine uses to decide what to use and when to use it. It's nothing you as a programmer here need to worry about. You just have to remember to include it in the right place. The init or initializer function will run at the start of the game. As soon as you hit test game or when you build and run, this script is run, it sets things up. If nothing needs setting up, then leave it empty like this one is. But you must include it. If you don't include it, you'll encounter an error. The second critical function you need is the main. This is activated when the entity is activated, and so this will control its primary behavior. Now, the computers read this sequentially, and that's the best way to read through a script to try and figure out what it does. So if we just break it down a bit, an end represents the end of an instruction. If is an instruction, so that ends. If is an instruction, that ends. Function's an instruction, that ends. And that's an instruction, and that ends. It's kind of nesting them into each other. So this if is when this is within this if is within this function. It may be complicated at first, but as soon as you start to use it, it becomes a lot more intuitive. Okay, so if is a conditional statement. It basically runs if something, then do something, then end. Same with the inside one. If something, then do something, then end. So it's just read it like that, and it becomes a lot easier on the eyes. So we'll take out this and just look at this piece more closely. If G underscore ambience in zone underscore sound looping isn't equal to E, then stop the sound G ambience in zone underscore sound looping, comma 0, which is this sound 0, loop non-3D sound of E to 0, activate if used E, G ambience in sound zone underscore sound looping equals E. Now that sounded probably like a lot of gobbledygook, but it's basically saying if the music isn't playing, then stop everything, then play the music. Okay? Because when it loops around again, if it's not playing, isn't true. And so it doesn't activate anything in here. It doesn't do anything because the music is playing. So it just carries on as normal. It's only if the music isn't playing that it plays the music. Now, all of that can only happen if this is true. If this equals 1, then check if the sound's playing. And this basically says, is the player in the zone? Equals equals means is it? 1 equals would be an assignment, like G entity is 1 or is it 1? So that's a little bit of terminology that trips up a lot of people. Similarly with this, squiggle equals means not equal, doesn't equal. Other programming languages might read it as not equal or isn't equal. It's just this one, it's the squiggle equal. Technical term, squiggle. That's not the easiest script in the world, but it's also not the most complicated. If you break it down into its constituent parts, it does make sense. So when the zone initializes, nothing happens. If it's an active object, check if the player is within the zone. If he is, or she, if the player is within the zone, then check, is the ambient sound looping? If it's not, then stop all the sound, and then play the sound, then end. And in that way, as soon as the player enters the zone, the ambient music starts playing. Now I'm going to exit this script and not save because I'm messing with it. That's something to consider as well. Don't mess with scripts like this because these scripts are not unique to the particular level you're working on. These scripts are applied to every project made with GameGuru. If you change this one script for one particular game, it'll change it for every other game. And that is why, if you want something custom, just like we saw for the escape, you could rename the for example, actually I'll do it. Where was that? That was in music. If you wanted, actually no, these aren't the scripts, these are the song files. These are the scripts. If you go into what was it, markers, there you are. If you wanted to customize the Ambience in Zone script, you could right click, copy and paste, so you get a copy of that script, and then using F2, if you want the shortcut, rename it to Ambience in Zone and your project, which is called Tutorial. Enter. Now we can assign this, so open that one. So now this Ambience in Zone is linking to the new script we've just created. The new script we've just created can be edited now freely without breaking any references to the original script. This is its own entity, it's not an instance. So we could change it to we could destroy this on initialization. So as soon as the game starts, this ambient zone is destroyed, which means this could never happen because it's not there. It appeared for half an instant. Not that useful, but we could. And if we did that, it wouldn't affect any other project that we've got on our installation that uses Ambience in Zone. So that's a good way to play with scripts. Take one that's already there as a template, make a copy of it, rename it slightly, and then play with it just a little bit at a time. And we're going to actually do that one with the sound zone, because that's slightly more simple than this. We'll go to that one now. So if we go back to our GameGuru, cancel to that, we're going to save those changes because we may as well, and come down to the sound zone. Now sound in zone.lua, we go into this, find our sound in zone, there it is, make a copy and paste a copy and rename it to sound in zone tutorial. Now if we edit this, also must make a note, the previous script I've just edited will not work for the following reason. The script name is very important. Since I changed the script name, I must also change the name of the function calls. So both of them, otherwise it will not work. And Intellisense is helping me here. It's not helping me very well, but it's trying. Tutorial. Now that will work, so I'll save that, I'll close that down, go back to my GameGuru, select that to use. Critters was a bit severe, so I think I'll change that to something a little less terrifying. Voices, no, that'd be more terrifying. Fantasy, let's say imp, hello, ogre, or magic. Yeah, magic, that sounds nice. Or magic. I will apply those changes. So when we get to the bottom of the ramp, it will play a magical sound effect. And before I forget, I will just make those changes to this script so it works properly. I open with Notepad++ and just change the name of the initializer scripts. Save. Close set. Also, if you want to quickly close something in Notepad++, Control and W will close the active page. So if you have a new page, you can shift Control W to close it. It's a nice quick way of navigating around, because Notepad++ you can have multiple tabs open at the same time. Very useful for referencing, but it does tend to fill up if you don't close them down. So, okay, apply changes, save, and test game. Now this should be exactly the same, except we won't have terrifying critters. We'll have a nice magic sound at the bottom of the slope, and that's after changing 2 of the scripts. Nothing inside them, just the names of them, because that's the first step. If you can get a new script doing the same thing, that's the first step. Because many a times people may create a whole new script and it won't work, and they won't know why, because you'd have to do too much too quickly. See, already all I've done is change the name and my music isn't playing anymore. I didn't touch my text, that works, and I'm going to bet this doesn't play. So already all I've done is change the names and I've broken the functionality. So if we come out of here, and I'll just go into this one first. So go into properties, and I already know what I've done. It's a simple mistake to make. I'm a little bit capitalizations. I tend to write in camel case when I'm doing things like this, but function names and script names cannot have capitalization. It doesn't work for them. It must all be lowercase, and I'm just a little bit too... It's a habit to type in camel case now for myself. A camel case, if you don't know where it is, when you type in a word and then another word, then another word, and then another word. So each starting letter of the new word is capitalized, so you can have a sentence with no spaces and no underscores, and it would still be legible. So that's something I tend to do a lot, but you can't do it with this. It doesn't like it. You must always use lowercase. The same for this one. So we go into this, we sound in zone, remove the capitalization, edit, remove the capitalization, fight against the IntelliSense, save, close, come back in here, accept it, apply it, and test it. Now, all being well, we should be greeted with a very nice foresty atmospheric background ambience. I'm going to lower my volume slightly so it doesn't perforate my eardrums. And we just wait a moment. Now, there's quite a lot going on in my scene now. We've got dynamic lights and... there we go. There it is. My start marker was outside of my zone. I forgot about that. But there it is. The script now works. And that's the first step to editing the script. You take one that does work, make a copy, change its name, make it unique, call that, and once that's working, then you can start to play with the content of it. Welcome to the video. Now let's see what this magic sound sounds like. Oh, that's nice. It's like a little Lovely. Walk over here, and we're going to get a quest from the scientist to recover something from the cave. Like, hello, will you get me the thing from the cave? It's like, okay. And you go and get the thing from the cave and maybe battle the satire. No, I don't want to battle the satire. Maybe if you go to the satire, it says, no, bring me the thing from the cave. So it's like, okay. And that's like your moral dilemma. Do you bring it to the scientist for study, or do you return it to the forest? Yeah, that's a nice little quest. Bit of moral dilemma. Nice music. Good. Okay, exit. And we will save. Now, okay. Now, what we're going to do now, for the remainder of this video, is create a little bit of custom dialogue for the scientist and the satire, using a sound zone, and we're going to look at editing a script, an LUA script. Not a very big edit, because LUA scripting in itself is a very complicated and very big subject. But what I will say is there's an excellent resource on the Steam GameGuru community boards which covers scripting from start to finish. It is a complete A to Z guide. It has a list of all the commands that can be used. It has tips on how to correctly write the scripts. And it's an excellent resource. I'm going to put the link in the comment section underneath this video, so please do click through and have a read. But we'll just do a small edit here so you can kind of get a feel for the process of editing beyond simply renaming an existing script and getting it to work. So I will go over here. I'll get rid of that because I don't know where it's been. I will take the sound zone, and I want this guy to speak as soon as you approach him. Oh, move the building. Just sound zone, please, so I can see. So as soon as you come within his arc, he'll speak to you. Now, I'm sure there are many online resources where you could get professional quality and nicely recorded sound bites, but for the purposes of just getting things set up, we can call it a placeholder. I'm going to quickly record a little bit of dialogue, just to get the flavour of the game, and obviously these could be replaced at a later date, but this is a nice way to get custom sounds in the game. Now, this involves using a free tool. Other recording software is available, but this is free and it's effective. I found it's called Audacity or Audacity, or however you want to pronounce it. So it's free to download. I don't personally endorse it, but you may have your own preference. But this can record microphone and export to WAV, which is all I really need. So the scientist would say, hello, I'm a scientist. Please get the thing from the cave for me and you'll be richly rewarded. Stop. And then play that back. Hello, I'm a scientist. Please get the thing from the cave for me and you'll be richly rewarded. Wow. Hello. No, I'm a scientist. I keep pressing the wrong button. Right, we'll stop it there. I want this bit. Please get the thing from the cave for me. Hello, I'm a scientist. And I want to export that as a WAV. Now I'm going to save that in the default location and call it Scientist Talk 1. Oh, that doesn't matter. I'm not advertising Audacity, I'm just using it. And I'll record one for the satire too. So we'll say, "Hello, I'm a satire. Please get the thing from the cave for me." He's very gravelly. "Hello, I'm a satire. Please get the thing from the cave for me." And we'll save that as, no, export that, sorry, as a WAV. We'll call him Satire. How do you spell it now? Satire Talking. Okay. Now, if we go to where those are saved, so new Explorer tab. Yeah. After a little bit of searching, they're in the Documents folder under Audacity. If you take these two files, copy or cut them, and bring them to your GameGuru audio bank folder, which can either be navigated to from here or using your Windows Explorer, make a new folder. We'll call it tutorial words and put them in there. Then we can go back to the engine and specify the thing we've just recorded, Scientist Talk 1.wav. Apply the changes and test game. Okay, and with these changes, the player now starts in the world. The ambient music is playing in the background. We go out down our slope and be greeted with a nice text message. A lovely little magical zing as we're coming down into the forest. And we see in the distance a scientist. So it's like, "Hello, scientist. What words of wisdom do you have for me?" "Hello, I'm a scientist. Please get the thing from the cave for me, and you'll be richly rewarded." Excellent. I love richly rewarding things. So I will make my way towards the cave. But, oh, what's this? Satire in the distance. Or it could just be some kind of guy, because you can't tell us a satire from a distance. And then here, we would have his sound on with his words. So, let's add that now. If we come over to the satire, I've placed him over here because if I place him in the middle of the trees, it wouldn't be as noticeable. He's sort of blend in. So if I bring his sound zone out to around there, and then go to the properties and change the audio for his audio, apply those changes and save. Let's save the level. And so if we test again now, the satire should also give his words. In the next video, I'm going to change that to become more like the other rocks, and we will add the thing in the cave that everybody seems to want, some sort of artifact. The objective will be to collect the artifact and return it to either the scientist for study or to the satire to restore the balance of the woodland or something. It's up to you as the game designer. It's up to you. And until then, though, I shall see you next time. Have fun.